Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm back, kind of. I don't really know if I'm back yet. I'm trying to be back. Buzzer. What am I expecting? Hello? Okay, I'll buzz you in, thank you. Pudge, get a grip, please. Okay, so you're gonna hear Pudge. He's going crazy because I got a package coming. I know, it's hot. Dog is barking. You might hear Archie crying in the background. He's in our bedroom, which brings me to my next thing. I am no longer pregnant. She's back, baby. I'm back. By the way, if you want to fast forward through a little bit of this life update, I'm going to try and quickly get through before we get into today's video. I will throw a timestamp somewhere on the screen, but yes, I'm back. I think Archie's crying and I'm gonna start leaking. It's true. I thought it was a myth that when you hear a baby crying, especially your baby, your boobs start leaking. It's a real thing. This is not how I pictured coming back. Pudge! People have asked if I'm going to be sharing my birth story. The answer is right now I don't know, only because it absolutely did not go as planned. Basically any plan I had was completely derailed. I would say my birth was quite traumatic, and the reason I don't know if I want to share it yet is because I don't want to scare anyone that is thinking of becoming pregnant or that is pregnant, or maybe re-trigger someone that also had a traumatic pregnancy or birth. And I'm not really even sure if I'm ready to talk about it yet or ever with the internet. So the answer is I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but I'm okay. I did have to get an emergency C-section, I will say that. Archie is okay. He's happy and healthy. He is 3 weeks and 3 weeks and 3 days today. He is 10.1 pounds now. He was 8.3 when he was born, 20.9 inches long. He was a big boy, and he is a very, very big boy now. He's measuring pretty big, like in the 70th percentile or something like that. My husband Vince has like random tall genes on his side. Like his grandpa was like 6 feet tall. His brother is over 6 feet tall. Vince's brother is over 6 feet tall. So I don't know. Archie might be a big guy. We're not sure yet. Also, this video has to be kind of on the shorter side because one, we're on a strict schedule here in this house now. It's crazy how like everything just changed overnight. Right now it is 5:36. I'm already running very late. We get Archie ready for bed at 6:30, so he gets his bath at 6:30, and then I'm pumping and eating at the same time at 7:30. It's his turn, Vince's turn to eat dinner, and then by 8 I'm in bed because I have to pump at 12. So my sleep shift is from 8 p.m. until 5 a.m. I have to pump twice in my sleeping shift, so really I'm getting more like 6 hours of sleep. And then Vince sleeps from 5 a.m. until 1 p.m. and that's when I'm on Archie duty. And then, you know, we tag team from 1 p.m. until, again, back to my sleep schedule. So overall, it's been okay. Archie is great. He's a great sleeper, a great eater. He really only cries when he needs something. He's like not colicky, and he's just been a dream. So me and Vince are like in newborn heaven right now. I am just so smitten with him. He is the most beautiful thing I've ever laid my eyes on, which brings me to my next question. Some people have asked, am I sharing Archie on social media and things like that? Here is the long story short. Ideally, I want to keep him off of my social media as much as possible, not only for his privacy, and you know, he can't consent to being put online and things like that. I'm not gonna be making baby content. I'm not gonna be making like mom baby content, nothing like that, not even on my vlog channel. If anything, I'm gonna do like maybe just like day in my life stuff or stuff mom related, but not like Archie related. I do share the occasional photo of him on my personal account, like my personal Instagram. I did share a photo of him when he was born. Not when, well, kind of when he was born. I shared my announcement photo of him on my social media, which I will share here. Yeah, like I'm okay just showing bits and pieces of him, like the occasional photo, if that, the back of his head, like if I'm holding him or something, like if he does make a cameo in a video where I have to hold him. I just don't want to expose him too much online, mainly for his privacy, again, like I said. And then there's just like a bunch of like pervs and weirdos online, and I just don't want Archie a part of that, is what I'm saying. Because I did have a few people ask, like when I shared my announcement photo of him on socials, they were like, didn't you say you're gonna keep him off socials? And the answer is yes. But I'm gonna share photos as I feel comfortable, but I'm not making him content. That's what I'm saying. I'm not making money off of him. I'm not using him to make videos, nothing like that. And then what else did I want to say? I think that's it. So anyway, that's kind of the life update. Today I wanted to share some updates of some plants with you guys. Obviously I've had to share my time between plants and Archie. Really, it's more like 90% Archie, 10% plants. Things are doing as well as they can be. I've had some casualties, not a lot. Nothing has fully like died, but you know, I have had to rehab a few plants and things like that. But otherwise, I am finding time for plants, and I do find that when I have the very little time with plants, it's just so special and it feels fun and exhilarating, just because it's more like a treat now. And so everyone who said that like when the baby comes and you do get to tend to your plants, that it's like so much more fulfilling and exciting, you're very right. When I get to repot a plant or just like water my plants, I'm just like, oh, this is so nice. So anyway, the plants are doing okay-ish. I have some plants that I just want to update you on from like previous videos and stuff. So this is going to be just like an updates video. I will link all of the videos that I'm referencing in the description, and I will try to throw in the thumbnail where I can to kind of show you which thumbnail to look for. So I have a lot of plants that I want to update you guys on, really, because I haven't filmed in almost 2 months, which is crazy. I'm probably saying a lot because I'm just like trying to get back into it. I'll try and edit out as many as I can. So the first plant I wanted to update you guys on was my philodendron mikins. When was it? Maybe 10 months ago now, and I know the specific time frame because I shared it in my stories not too long ago. 10 months ago, I posted this video here where I showed you guys my once beautiful, lush, amazing mikins that had succumbed to spider mites, and I just gave it a humongous chop. I just didn't want to treat the rest of the plant because I just find that with trailing plants, especially as bushy as they are, yes, you can do like a full dunk, a full soak, you can treat it however you want, but sometimes I just find it not worth the headache of rerouting such long stems, propagating single stem mikins. It's just a headache. You run the risk of the spider mites not being completely gone, and so they're still in your house. And for me, the mikins has always grown like a weed, and I just didn't feel the need to keep those long cuttings. So in this video, chopped it back down, I repotted it. It looked absolutely pathetic. It was so sad, but I knew it would come back. I knew that as long as the roots were healthy, I had nice healthy stems, that I would be able to get somewhat of my plant back. Maybe it might not look as gorgina as it once did before, but I knew it was gonna come back. So 10 months has passed, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like now. Moved you back a little bit because I don't think I can fit this in the frame. So this is the mikins now. It has definitely filled in, and it is very, very long. It's pretty much as long as it was before the chop, if not longer. And she's pretty much back. I don't want to say she's as like majestic and glorious as she used to be, but you know, like compared to what she looked like before, and maybe I can throw in a photo here. I'll put in a screenshot of what she looked like when I chopped it. Yeah, I would say this is a massive, massive improvement. I'm gonna put it down because it's very heavy. This is Pawn. So what I've done over the last 10 months with this Mikins is what I advised in my Mikins care video, and that is essentially growing in Pawn, kind of growing in no drainage, not really. So this, it's in a pot with drainage and it's in a cover pot. I mean, the water never drains out. It's always just kind of sitting in water. And then I do the weekly showers. I haven't been obviously as good about it since Archie's been here and since I've been very heavily pregnant. But any chance I get, like if I'm gonna bring one plant to the shower, I'm always gonna bring my Mikins and just give it a little bath, because I find that this one pushes some extra floral nectaries when it's stressed out, and then it burns through the leaves. Again, very prone to things like thrips and spider mites. So I just want to keep it as clean as possible. Also, it's got all of those sheaths, the dry sheaths that just fall off and it just ends up all over my floors, and they're all over here. So if I can just wash those off in the shower, that's kind of my ideal way to kind of upkeep how, not high maintenance it can be, but kind of. But I would say she's doing pretty well. So I can't grab it now because it's in the bedroom, but if some of you guys remember, I do have a second Mikins that I got from Plant Some CA, and it was really small, but it's now pretty much, maybe not as long because I gave it a, oh, that's another thing I do. Over the last 10 months, I've just been chopping. When it gets long, if there's any leggy, lanky parts, chop it, because I want to activate as many auxiliary buds as possible down all of these stems. So that's another thing that I'm doing. I'm gonna link the Mikins care video in the description in case you're wondering how I care for my Mikins. So anyway, I have another Mikins. It is pretty much as lush as this one is, but it's probably about up to here. And I've been thinking about combining them because as of now, I don't have enough space on this shelf. I'm gonna be doing another video in the future where I restyle this shelf. I'm gonna bring some of my Antherium from my plant room onto this shelf, and I kind of need to do something about all of my trailing plants. I don't know if I'm gonna be moving some, but I definitely need to condense. So I'm thinking of combining both of the Mikins, and then I'll give this one a trim so that it's about the same length as the other one. But I guess all of that to say, this is a happy update because we're back and she no longer looks pathetic, and I have been very, very happy with the growth. So that is the update for anyone who has been wondering about my Mikins. So the next update is from this video here. Hopefully I can remember. I don't know if this was I think it was in a week of. Anyway, I ordered 2 plants from a nursery based in Ontario here in Canada called Crystal Star Nursery. They are one of my favorite plant shops probably ever because 1, they are family owned. 2, they take such good care of their plants. They send out amazing specimens, and you can tell they really just take the time to care for the plants. They're propagating plants. They're not just flipping plants. They're really, really like investing time and energy into sending out quality specimens. And 3, they just carry a range of plants that, like, they carry aeroids, they carry succulents, they carry Dicoria, they carry Codex plants, like just anything you can imagine. So many different types of euphorbia and cacti and Hoya, orchids. So they don't really specialize in anything particular, but they bring in a number of different genus that, like, if you just go on the website, you can discover new plants that maybe you have never heard of before. And I often, when they do restock their website, even if I have no intention of buying, I just go on there to see if I can find any new plants that I'd never heard of before, find some plants to add to a wish list, things like that. So anyway, I love Crystal Star. I will link them in the description. If you are in Canada, I highly recommend buying from them. So a couple months ago, I think it was maybe 3 months ago now, I could be totally wrong, I have no concept of time anymore, but I bought 2 plants from them, and so I wanted to update you on how they're doing. So the first one is this Hoya Stena I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hoya Stena. That's how I'm guessing how you say it. And the reason I really liked this plant was because it reminded me of the Hoya Eve Rocheri, which is probably one of my favorite Hoyas right now. I'm trying to grow this one like the Hoya Eve Rocheri, where it's trailing. The stems are a lot more, actually, I would say they're about as rigid as the Eve Rocheri, but you can kind of tell it wants to be sort of going upward and climbing. But I'm gonna see if it gets heavy enough that I can just kind of, and it looks like it's already doing it. I mean, it looks kind of weird right now because it's just sticking straight out, but I think as it grows and gets heavier, it'll trail. So yeah, that's why I bought this one, because it reminded me so much of the Eve Rocheri, except the leaves are so much thinner. They look like little fish bones, and it just looks a little bit more sinister, a little bit more like, I don't know, creepy in a way. When I first got it, I think that it had, ew, there's a fungus gnat crawling all over it. I think it had a couple leaves. I can't remember what it looked like. Hopefully I can throw in a photo or a screenshot from the video there, but it has grown quite a bit and it's been very low maintenance. I just have it in no drainage right now, in pond. Lots and lots of algae on this pond, but doesn't care. And yeah, it's grown, like, definitely another growth point. Ew, this dead fungus gnat is just chilling on my finger. I think that it was this, I think it was this stem originally, like just this little guy with like these two, maybe a little bit more leaves, and then it like branched off and all of these leaves grew, because it definitely was not this bushy, but it is doing pretty well. I'm just growing it down here on my living room shelf. It's living under a 10-watt Barina bar. It grows actually quite fast. I was surprised at how fast this one had grown. And of course, because of everything that's been going on in my life right now, I'm not really paying a lot of attention to new growth at the moment. But when I went to, you know, go water the last time, I was like, whoa, this thing has grown a lot. And especially because it's just down there with the rest of what remains of my Hoya collection. I don't really pay a lot of attention to what's going on down there. So yeah, it was a surprise to see how big this one had gotten. But if anyone is wondering about the Hoya Stena, it's, I would say, pretty easy, low maintenance, fast growing. I thought this one would be really finicky, kind of like the Hoya acicularis. They look very similar from what I can remember. I used to have a Hoya acicularis, I think twice, and hopefully I'm saying that name right, but that one hated me. I felt like it was so high maintenance, it was hard to grow. This one, so much easier. Just like the Hoya Eve Rocheri, really does not require much. So this has been a nice little treat. And then another one that I got was this Dicoria Mexicana. If you watched that video and you're familiar or remember, for whatever reason you remember what it looked like, you will probably be surprised to see what it looks like now. When I first got it, it had maybe like 3 or 4 leaves on it, and it wasn't looking very good. In my experience, Dicoria don't ship very easily. They don't ship well. They tend to drop all their leaves, and so I was not surprised when it arrived. I did not put any, not responsibility, but I didn't fault Crystal Star for it, just because I have sent out healthy Dicoria, and then the person that bought it received like a dead Dicoria, or basically ended up with a stick when I know I sent out something really healthy. So they just, you know, they do bad in the mail from my experience. Again, when I got it, it had like the one stem here, and you can kind of see it's yellow, so I thought that maybe it might die, but no, she gave birth to all of these all of these leaves, and it looks crazy right now because it's on such a small trellis. I think the next time that I go to like repot something, I'm going to upsize the pot for one, and then I think I'm gonna get it on a wider trellis so that I can have all of these leaves actually shown. But they're so cute, aren't they? Like, if you're into Dicoria, this one's a really, really fun one. I'm glad that I ended up getting the one that had like the narrow leaves that I like, because there's another form of Dicoria Mexicana that has like wide leaves. It looks very much like the Dicoria discolor, where they're like heart-shaped leaves and they're wider. It's kind of like this, I don't know if you could see it, this one leaf. Nope, you can't see it. Oh, right there, underneath. It's kind of wider rather than like these long, narrow, sharp leaves. So I think what I'm gonna do is probably, yeah, repot, get it on a bigger trellis. This is an archie trellis, by the way. I will link Era's shop in the description. And then I think I'm gonna give it a trim because holy smokes, this thing just grows like crazy. I do think Dicoria, wherever they're native to, I do think that they're considered an invasive species because they grow like mad. I'm gonna throw in a photo here of what this looked like on this shelf. It was choking out the lights on the shelf behind me, and this is what this plant tends to do. So if you have a Dicoria, I don't recommend you put it in close quarters with other plants, especially if not other trailing plants. I can't imagine how much of a nightmare it would be to untangle these stems from another trailing plant with a bunch of leaves. Like, it just seems like it would be a headache. So I try and keep this separate, and I just didn't, again, realize how much and how fast it had grown. But it's crazy, and yeah, it's easy. I would say this one has been even a faster grower and a more robust grower than the Dicoria discolor. I'm not sure if it's because the leaves are like a lot smaller. And I actually don't even know how big these leaves can get. I don't know if they stay relatively small, because the Dicoria discolor leaves can get really, really huge. I mean, I wouldn't doubt if it was the same, but anyway, all of that to say, doing okay, doing well. I will be propagating this, so if anyone in Canada, I can't ship this out of Canada because it's not, like, Lauren can't ship Dicoria to the States. But if you're in Canada and you are looking for a Dicoria Mexicana, hopefully that's the name of it, I will be propagating some of this because this is just too much. These next two plants I did not talk about in the same video, and hopefully I can remember. Hopefully I can even remember which videos I talked about these in. It's a little bit tough when I do updates on things that happened in like a week of plant things, because I put one out every month and then some of the videos are like 3 hours long. So I'm gonna link as many videos as I can that I can remember. But anyway, these next two plants are my ferns, and obviously, spoiler alert, they're both alive. So this one is the rabbit's foot fern, and it's getting so big. I thought this one would be harder to care for. I don't know why, but I just found more confidence when I started seeing more people on Instagram growing it just in ambient conditions. And I can't remember if this is one of the ones that I tried to grow before, like years ago, and failed, but she's doing fine now. I'm growing it in no drainage, and the little legs on it are getting so long. My vision with this pot was that it just wrapped around it completely, and we're kind of getting there. I think it's gonna be a long time before it actually completely covers the entire thing. But yeah, it has not been difficult at all. I water it as much as I water the rest of my plants. I fertilize it as much as I fertilize the rest of my plants, and doesn't seem to mind it. I'm just growing this one in my hallway right now. So I have these two little, I'll post a picture of it here, these things that my dad hung up for me. And honestly, on a good day, it probably gets like 20 foot candles of light, and the rest of the days it's basically getting nothing. And so this one really hasn't required a lot of light. The growth has definitely slowed down since putting it in the hallway, but I'm not fussed on trying to get this to be like some big massive thing. You know, it's a decorative plant for me. It's like a filler plant, really. It's not a plant that I really have any massive goals for or anything. It's just, I have those shelves in my hallway. I wanted to put plants on it. This seemed like a good choice, and it's doing pretty well. I do have to pull out the occasional dried leaves here and there, but honestly, it doesn't dry out as much as I thought it would. I don't know. I guess I think about a fern and I think it just needs high humidity. It needs, you know, like a greenhouse or something in the house. But on a good day during the summer, my house is like 40 to 45%. In the winter, it drops down to like 30, but it's a bit more humid right now, which is nice. But yeah, this one is alive and well. It has grown quite a bit since I've gotten it. Not a crazy amount, but has definitely grown. This one, on the other hand, this fern has grown a lot. This is my asparagus fern. I got this 2 months ago. I was very heavily pregnant when I bought this. I think I was like 35 weeks pregnant or something. 35 or 36. I was one of those weeks pregnant. And it was a lot smaller than this, and she's big now. The little, what are we calling these? These are getting really, really massive, which is nice because my vision for this was that it would just get so big that it would sort of hang on one side and just look like this majestic little indoor tree. And honestly, this one dries out a lot less than this one. Not in terms of the soil, but like the actual leaves. Like I think ever since getting this plant, I haven't had to like trim back any dead or dying parts of it at all. So when I posted this in that video, I was talking about how I used to own this plant before. I literally had it in a greenhouse. I think I repurposed an old fish tank and I put it in there and it was just crisping, it was drying, and I'm like, how does anybody grow this plant? And I was talking about how, you know, difficult it was for me to grow it. And there were a few people that commented and were like, no, that's wrong, like this thing grows like a weed. Someone even said they had to like get rid of it because it just was growing so fast and like overtaking like a part of their apartment, and they just couldn't keep up with the growth. And I don't know what the difference is because I was growing it in no drainage before. I don't think there was anything that I did really differently, and my experience now has just been night and day because the growth has been tremendous on this thing. It's not drying up at all. It's not in a greenhouse. Where am I growing this? I've moved this thing around. So it was living at first in my kitchen, and then I moved it over to my kitchen slash dining area shelf, and then now it's living on the top of this shelf, which I do want to move it because I feel like this style plant doesn't really match with everything that's going on there. By the way, this shelf is an absolute hot mess. I should have prefaced this video with that because when my mom was here visiting to help take care of Archie, we were doing a lot of plant things. She was helping me repot all of the last minute things I needed to repot before the birth, and we were kind of just removing plants from the shelf, we were throwing plants on the shelf, and so it's just everything just thrown back on there. So anywho, I just don't think that this plant looks good on that shelf. So I'm still trying to find a good place for it. I don't really know where it's gonna go. I have too many plants. Honestly, I have too many plants, and I will talk about this in an upcoming video, but now that so many of my Antherium are growing and I need to move them onto the shelf, something's gotta give because I am not, I don't have any more space. That's the reality of it. So anyway, ferns, doing okay. If you're looking for some ferns to add to your house, I definitely recommend these two. All I can say is I'm growing in no drainage. I never let the vessels dry out completely. I'm fertilizing at 1/4 strength every week. Well, I haven't fertilized in like almost a month now in this house. I will fertilize. I'm gonna fertilize this weekend. And then, yeah, no needed humidifiers or anything. It's just growing in ambient. So I don't know what the difference is in terms of why I'm successful growing these now versus before, but I'm just happy to be on the other side of it now. Second to last updates out here before we head into the plant room, and I just do some quick updates in there. In this video here, I created this sort of kitchen arrangement that was inspired by something that my mom did. Her idea was on her kitchen island, That's where her sink is, and there's always like a ton of like backsplash and just water that like goes onto the rest of the counter. So she's like, why don't I just put like some orchids and some air plants there so that it's just catching all the water and, you know, it's making the water useful. And I really liked the way hers turned out. So I said that I wanted to do the same, and I did. And I did it once, and I ended up, what did I do? I did it once and I took it apart, and then I redid it and I did this. But the only difference was I added an orchid here, and some people were saying that it didn't match. I actually quite liked it. I don't know why I liked it so much. I really liked the contrast of them. I liked that they weren't so matchy-matchy, but it just didn't work because the orchid needed way more water than these ones did, and so the orchid was not doing well, so I ended up removing it. And so now it just looks like this. I think it looks okay. I feel like it's lacking color. It looks a little blah, like it doesn't, I don't know. I feel like I need to replace this with something else that has a little bit more color or a little bit more contrast. I do like the contrast of this one, but I just think it looks a little bit too muted on this side. I don't know if maybe it needs like a different color top dressing. All that to say, I do love this arrangement, or I like the arrangement as it is, but I think that it needs a little bit of tweaking still. But it is alive. It's doing okay in here. I have had some growth. This guy has grown quite a bit. This one is pushing out a bunch of pups. I've actually had to remove 2 of the pups already because it was like moving into the Zenzi. The Zenzi has not grown, as they don't do. But this one is doing okay. So there's the update on that. And then here is the orchid update. So while my mom was here, we went thrifting. I ended up finding 2 of these vessels. So I found this one and I found a bigger one, which I will show you maybe in a different video what I did with it. But the orchid in this arrangement, it just completely like shriveled. It was so sad. These leaves were just so wrinkled, and my mom was like, why don't you just grow it in water? And so that's what I did. I mean, I have it in leca, but it's essentially just growing in water. And after like 2 days, the leaves completely perked back up. These leaves like opened back up. I should have taken a photo of it. Like the leaves were all facing down. They were all facing down. The color was like a little bit darker, I want to say, and it was just looking so sad. So after 2 days in water, it just completely sort of like found its lust for life again, and it's been doing well. Well, actually no, that's a lie. I had one of the flowers drop when it was stressed out. It looked like this. So if you look at the tip of that, the whole leaf just completely like shriveled and died. And I'm not really an orchid person. I don't know much about orchids. So yeah, this is all just a grand experiment for me. But I'm glad that this one is alive and it's, you know, seemingly doing well. And I don't know how long these flowers last for, but yeah, it's doing okay in here. There are maybe like the 1 or 2 roots that look a little bit mushy gushy, like that one right there. I don't know if you could see it, but the rest of the roots are doing just fine. I have some new root growth at the top, so I think all is well with this one. I'm not even gonna bother setting up my lighting and whatever because it's already 6:17. I gotta go. So there were like 2 other plants that I was gonna update you on. I was gonna update you on my Glorious and my Splendid. So my Glorious, I did like this big chop and repot. I mounted it on one of Tyler's poles from Russo Plant Care. And then my Splendid was the one where it was like this humongous plant. I chopped it. I did a whole bunch of things with it, but I don't want to bring the plants down right now. Please don't make me. So I think maybe I'll do an update video within like a week of. I am planning to try and do a week of in the month of August if I can. I think by then we'll be a little bit more in a rhythm because right now Archie, he does not have like a sleep schedule or any kind of schedule of that matter. He just kind of sleeps and wakes whenever he wants. Not to say that next month will be any different because we're not gonna really start sleep training until he's like 3 to 4 months. And no, I don't mean I didn't even know there was like a huge controversy about sleep training. I think a lot of people associate sleep training with the cry it out method, and a lot of people say the cry it out method is inhumane and it's just not the right way to train a baby to sleep, and that's not what I mean. We are not doing the cry it out method because I can't bear to hear him cry. His cry is so sad. I just want to like hold him whenever he cries. I'm so annoying. That is not what I mean by sleep training. There are tons of other methods of sleep training, and yeah, it's not just the cry it out method. So that's not what I'm talking about. Don't come for me. But anyways, yeah, I think hopefully by August or September I can get back into the week ofs and the long videos. That's my goal. So I'm not going to update you on that, but I will just randomly update you on this because I was starting to bring it down and then I changed my mind. But I did bring down this one. So I'll just show it to you since it's down here. But my Escaleto is getting humongous. Humongous. Look at this leaf right here. It's not really doing it justice on camera, like how large it is. Like, look how big it is in comparison to my head. And there's another leaf coming. It's growing on like the tiniest, skinniest little pole, but the leaves are just, they are sizing up like a hot damn. So I'm quite happy with this one. It looks like a dream. I love it. It is turning into, I mean, it's already kind of looking like my dream Escaleto. I love this plant so much. This plant just redeemed the sour taste I was getting with monsteras. I just feel like, you know, I struggled with the, I am struggling with the Burle Marx's Flame. Not that it's like a hard plant to grow, but I can't get any of the fenestrations on it. And it was a top cutting and Alice's was the bottom cutting and hers already has the lobster claws. There was that one, and then I had, what was the other one that just kept pushing out runners? Monstera, something else. In the last few years, I haven't had like the greatest experience with some monsteras. So this one has just kind of like redeemed the genus for me, and it's doing really well. So I just wanted to just quickly show you guys this one. But what I will show you, I have two things to show you in here very quickly. I have a box of exciting seedlings in here. I know which video this was. In this video here, I randomly pollinated my Antherium Brielle, which is a dock block crystallinum hybrid, or some kind of dock block crystallinum. I hybridized that one with, or I pollinated it with Alice's Antherium Crystallinum Black, and I will show you the parents here. So I just demonstrated how I pollinate an inflow or a receptive inflow on camera, just to show you what that process looks like. And I don't know if I have shown you an update since then on what they look like. I think maybe I posted something on Instagram, but I haven't posted anything on YouTube. But they are getting so big and cute. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be drip. Drip, drip, dripping. Okay. So I'm not gonna pull out all of them, but I have, from this batch, I did have to give half of it to Alice, keep that in mind. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 seedlings that came out of that batch. And they are cuties. They all look kind of similar, I would say. There's not like a huge difference between them that I can tell. They all look like they have like a very silvery leaf, which is what I expected because the Brielle is all silver. The Crystal Black has nice silver venation, but I am just curious as to what these are gonna look like as they mature, because both parents are just absolute stunners. And I'm not really sure when I'm gonna be ready to let them go, honestly. I feel like that's an issue I have. Like I don't want to give away one that's gonna be super, super cute. What was it? Someone tagged me recently in one of the Hoff X red crystals that me and Lauren sold them as a seedling, and theirs is so much cuter than any of the other Hoff X red crystals that I've seen. And I'm like, see, that's why. but I can't keep them all. So they're doing well. They're all kind of about the same size. There's maybe just one that is like really like noticeably smaller than the rest of them. But at this point, they're kind of ready to go to new homes. I think I'm gonna wait until one more leaf pops out on all of them so that I can decide which one or two I'm gonna keep, and then I have to sell the rest because I've got way more seedlings brewing right now. So here, I'll just show you a quick one. So this one is, I mean, it doesn't look like much right now, but it's an Antherium Pluton crossed with the Hoff X again. Or is it? Oh yeah, Pluton Hoff X. I thought the Hoff X was the mom. Maybe not. So yeah, Pluton Hoff X, and then I recently harvested my Indo-Peppy hybrid crossed with the Crystal Mag Forgetii Red Sinus. So I call it the red sinus because it has a very red sinus. Hopefully I can find a good picture of it. I feel like I don't have a good picture of this plant, but this was actually my hybrid, the Crystal Mag Dark Forgetii. I kept this one because from its like second leaf, it just had the tiniest red sinus, like one of those protruded sort of like inverted butthole looking sinuses, and it kept throughout like in its maturity, and so it has a very prominent red sinus. So that's the plant that I used as the pollen parent with the Indo-Peppy hybrid. And then I have 3 more boxes of seeds in there. I probably have close to like 50 seeds in there that are germinating. And then I have 2 plants out on my shelf that are producing berries right now. So I've got to move some of these because we're running out of space, and I gotta do something about that. So there's the update on that. It was a successful pollination. I do know what I'm doing sometimes. So again, more good news. Actually, I'm only sharing good updates in this video, so I can't be like, oh yeah, that's good news, because I'm only sharing good news. And then the last update that I have for you is an experiment that I have been running for a little while now. So I don't remember which video I talked about this in, but I was talking about how when I changed my soil mixture a couple months ago, I started noticing that primarily my Antherium, they were not looking great. They were looking very chlorotic, they were looking very pale, they were looking fungally and spotty, and I could not figure out what was happening with them because these were plants that were growing outside of a greenhouse, so I couldn't attribute it to like a fungal thing. I mean, you can still get fungal stuff outside of a greenhouse, but the likelihood of it in like a big like open space where you're getting a lot of air circulation, I don't know, it's not as prominent like as, you know, growing inside of a greenhouse. So anyway, I, was chatting with Alice, and we were talking about like the only thing that's changed, and it was the addition of cocoa in my mixture. And so I was reading more about it, and they were saying that you should be pre-treating your cocoa, pre-washing it. It needs to be, you need to like balance it with CalMag, all this other stuff. Hopefully I can remember what video I talked about that in too, but yeah, I go into more detail about that whole issue. So I ran an experiment. I used 2 of the seedlings from the same seed batch. They were about the same size when I potted them. They're in the exact same pot size. They are in the exact same spot. They get watered and fertilized at the same time. The only difference is that one of them is growing in the cocoa soil tree fern mix, and another one is growing in the peat tree fern soil mix. So here is what they look like now. So this one is the one growing in cocoa, and this is exactly what I was seeing happening on a lot of my plants, where I was saying they look very chlorotic, they look yellow, they look sickly, they just don't look good. And then this is the one growing in peat. So you can see the difference. I want to say it's the cocoa. It didn't show up right away, but now that it's been several months and it's like really grown into this substrate, yeah, it's looking very, very different than the one grown without cocoa. Typically I would be like, oh, maybe this one was too close to the light, maybe I over fertilized this one or something, but they're getting the exact same care. When I water them and I fertilize them, I make sure I'm using it from the same cup, so it's not like I'm using fertilizer from a different batch, like maybe that batch was stronger than another one. No, they're getting the same exact thing. I have no motive to try and convince you that cocoa is like bad or whatever. It's not. A lot of people grow successfully in cocoa, but I wanted to see if maybe that is why a lot of my Antherium were not looking great. And so even before like this experiment showed any kind of results in my, like, this is, okay guys, this is not like a super scientific experiment. Like, this is just purely anecdotal. It's just by observation. This alone, looking at this, I can't be like 100% this is what cocoa did, but this is the conclusion that I am drawing just based on my observation with these two plants. So, you know, take whatever I say with a grain of salt, but I wanted to figure out if that could be why my Antherium were looking crappy. And honestly, oh, I'm dropping everything. Looking at this and just knowing that this is what a lot of my Antherium were looking like exactly, I'm like, I think that's what it is. It's because I was using untreated cocoa. So I've since then, before this even started yellowing and looking really bad, I had moved all of my Antherium that were in any kind of cocoa mix out of it, and I am now only using peat and the tree fern fiber mix. So yeah, that's the update on that. I really have to go, guys. It's getting late. My kid needs me. He needs to take a bath, and we need to have some dinner, and I got a pump. So I'm gonna call it here. Hopefully this video wasn't too much of a fail. Hopefully I wasn't blabbing too much. Again, I don't think I'm back yet, but maybe I'm back. I don't know. I would really love to get back to posting every Saturday. I do know I'm gonna be posting next Saturday because I have a sponsored video going up, which I'm very excited about. Hopefully the next Saturday after that, I can show you a bunch of the new plants that I acquired a little while ago. And yeah, I actually have a lot of new plants that I got, which is probably bad timing, but it is what it is. I hope you guys have been well. I've missed you so much. Thank you for all of the sweet comments on YouTube, on Instagram, just sending me well wishes in regards to me becoming a mom, and all of your concern about whether I'm okay and doing okay and stuff. All is well over here. We are surviving. But hopefully I can pop onto YouTube a lot more. I know that I posted that announcement video saying what my plans were for June. Obviously that got completely derailed because emergency C-section, recovery was so much longer. I'm still not fully recovered yet, but I think I'm well enough now to kind of get back into the swing of things, and hopefully I can be back on YouTube regularly, at least every week now. Fingers crossed, because I'm officially, I said that I was going to be off maternity leave starting July. So we are in July. It's hard to believe that, but yeah, that's it. I don't remember how I used to end these videos. What did I say? Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching another video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.